Let's go on a journey together. Don't be afraid, it's gonna be fine. Do you remember the movie E.T.? Surely you do. That wrinkly little creature with the glowing finger that was supposedly phoning home. This is regarded as one of Steven Spielberg's best movies. And you know what that means? It made money. You know what that means? Capitalism was going to do what capitalism does and make the most money out of this franchise. Enter E.T. the Extraterrestrial for the Atari 2600. Yes, E.T. does mean extraterrestrial, whatever, we're not going to talk about it. This game was released in 1982, and to the surprise and disappointment of everyone, it sucked so bad that Atari tried to erase it from the public zeitgeist. But little did they know that the internet would be forever, and it would help this flop of a game live on in our memories. Surprisingly, this game didn't just flop because it was the first of its kind. E.T. the Extraterrestrial wasn't even the first game to be based off of a movie franchise. Disney holds the title to find success with this first, with their game Tron, and their movie Tron, releasing cabinet games for that. That's right, Kingdom Hearts wasn't the first time Tron made an appearance in a video game. In fact, Tron launched a handful of popular arcade games, including Tron Deadly Discs in 1981, and Tron, Mazatron, get it? and Adventures of Tron in 1982. Other popular movies to get a video game were King Kong in 1982. We're going to come back to that one. Raiders of the Lost Ark, also 1982. And Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, again, 1982. Big year for these kind of games. You would think that after all of this time, video game developers and studios would be pros at adapting popular franchises, whether they be movies, TV shows, and books, into the video game format. They had all of this time to perfect their formula, study their craft, make it better. Sadly, Greeda's a sneaky little jerk who ruins everything and has brought about my pleading with companies to maybe not make video games based on movies anymore because they suck. I'm Lindsay, and this is Nerdalysis Unhinged, a series where I talk about subjects related to media and pop culture with no regard for how long I ramble on. Let's get into how greedy corporations keep getting away with making trash video games based off of existing IPs. This video is sponsored by me and my Ko-Fi page. If you like the content you're seeing and want to support me in all my content creation endeavors, you can go to my page at www.ko-fi.com/Lindsay Reskin. Thank you to everyone who supports me. And now back to your scheduled programming. Before I trash talk games based off of intellectual properties, and don't worry, I will, let's talk about what would make a good game in this realm. What would make a good movie turned video game? First off, this is the biggest rule, number one, don't be a greedy cash grab. Actually, end of video, that's it, that's all you need to know. Don't be greedy. Game studios should pay me for this advice. Us gamers, we're not stupid, and it doesn't matter the age. We know when something is thrown together and done with the least amount of effort possible. The first step for these games is for the entire team, including the higher-ups, to give a damn about what they're creating, to care about producing something of quality. From there, good things can start to happen. Another key component I've noticed in these successful licensed video games is that the story is maybe outside of the established media. For example, if it is a movie, you're not just recreating the movie in video game format. We're not trying to retell the movie here, we're adding more to the narrative with these video games. These video games should fit well into the universe and make sense. This comes back to caring and not just making these games to make a quick buck. Successful IP games have something to add to the story, to add to the world. They have their own narrative outside of what happened in the movie or book or TV show. I know this can be difficult for many series, and I'm not saying this is easy. Remember, we're past the easy cash grabby stuff. We want to make quality IP games here. And I do take into account that most people who are engaging with a movie probably aren't video game players. And most people who read books might not go and play the game as well. But I feel like this can be done well, that you can create a diverse set of media for a franchise and not make any of it cash grabby and gross. We're going to take a look at Avatar: The Last Airbender as an example of this. For now, we're going to ignore the video games because that's where they failed. They ain't doing so good there. But I feel like when it comes to including media outside of the TV series, such as their graphic novels and other stories, they've done a decent job of blending their worlds through other mediums, but not requiring someone to engage with all of the media to enjoy the Avatar universe. Avatar, as I will be referring to it because it is superior to that Blue People movie we're not going to talk about, has a lot in its catalog. Aside from the original 3-season television series, they have another TV series, over 6 graphic novels, and they're coming out with more, and currently 4 novels based on other avatars, and there's another one scheduled to be published in like 2024, 2025. Like they've got the wheels rolling on this. As a fan of this franchise, I love engaging with all of their content, and I feel like you never have to read it all to understand the stories they tell. They aren't Marvel, where you have to watch the TV series based off of this one moment in this spin-off movie and another TV series, and they all come together, and the movie is just setting up another TV series and another movie down the line. That's a fail. They're not doing that here. The stories that they are creating within this different media can stand alone to a certain degree. It would help a lot if you knew more about the universe, if you engaged with all of the stories, but it is not a requirement to enjoy the one thing you're focused on. Another great example of IP games done correctly is Nancy Drew games. These games have the player engage with detective stories that aren't always one-for-one coverage of like novel ideas. They might touch on them, and some of them might be, but I feel like the serialization of Nancy Drew and the series allows for more of these type of games where you can create unique narrative-driven experiences for the player that aren't just to grab a quick buck, but you can engage with the story in a unique way. Mystery games, like, great for this. And let's just think about Ham Ham Heartbreaker. Anyone? I loved this game as a kid. And to me, it was another instance of an IP done right. I loved Hamtaro as a child. And so I got this game and I felt like it added to the world. It had its own contained story, but with your favorite characters. Of course, I was a kid last time I played this, but it didn't feel like the mindless cash grab that the Lilo and Stitch game from Disney Interactive felt like, you know? So for me, it boils down to caring and making a unique, engaging story that enhances the franchise rather than blemishes it. And you'd think the video game industry by now would have perfected this model, but no, they have not. Video games based on TV shows and movies never truly stopped being produced since Tron was released in 1981, but they haven't really gotten any better. Disney kept on making games based off of their movies under their studio Disney Interactive, which is still a thing. I mean, you can thank them for the gem that was the Lion King game. I remember playing this game as a kid and crying because, oh my god, it is so hard. What were they thinking? How is this a children's game? But they continue to make games like the Lion King, like I mentioned before, Lilo and Stitch, any of their movie games. A lot of them would be published under Disney Interactive, and they would work with other studios too to get more games out because they got a lot going on for them. If you grew up playing video games in the early 2000s, I am sure that you have heard of THQ. They are responsible for giving us wonderful hits, such as Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Rugrats in Paris, the movie, the game, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Disney's The Little Mermaid 2, SpongeBob SquarePants Super Sponge, Hello Kitty, Happy Party Pals, and so much more. In just 2002 alone, they released 63 games, with the majority of those games being based around existing IPs. The early 2000s were a dark time for these type of games, in that there were so many of them made and they were all pretty terrible quality. They were not great experiences for kids to interact with. They were cash cows that studios thought, hey, parents would know that their little Billy Bob Joe likes SpongeBob, and look, there's a SpongeBob video game, so let's get it for him. We suffered as children. It's fine. A lot of the problems with these games and using popular IPs is that they were targeted towards children, but also made for parents if they walked down the aisle, knew their child liked that kind of media franchise, needed a quick Christmas gift. Here we go. $20 game. Here you go. Billy Bob Joe Jr. Enjoy your mediocre experience. Especially back in the early 2000s. The internet was not in your palm of your hands. Researching game reviews and opinions was a lot harder to do, and most kids didn't do that. They would maybe see a character they would like and got the game, or their family would see characters they know their kids like and would buy them the game. No one was thinking of the children in this instance and protecting them from trash video game experiences that aimed only to make a quick dollar because of the IP and not because the game was actually good or decent. Most of the times it was garbage. It was 2011 when THQ released their last game, and they shut down in 2013. Everything was safer with them gone, but that didn't mean licensed games weren't around. There were some studios that kept them going. THQ, the biggest offender, was dying and dead, but in their absence, something changed, something grew, and then 2023 happened, and oh my god, what the fuck are we doing? It was like I hopped into a time machine and I wanted to be transported like 20 years. I didn't ask for this gaming industry. I didn't ask for the games that you were producing. What is this? And this? And fucking this? What? Why? We were supposed to move on from making these terrible IP games, but why are we here again? Why? Why do you do this to me? The target audience isn't even always kids anymore. People know it's bad because they read reviews, and yet these games are still being made. Want to know why? You could take a guess probably. Because getting hate makes money. That's right, it's for money. Getting gamers to buy your games so that they can troll on it makes the studio some money. It gets them some attention. It also gets them shut down, but there's a chance they could make enough money to save it. All publicity is good publicity, right? Okay, so maybe they don't think that they'll make it big because their game is garbage, but they do think that they will make it big because the title has a recognizable IP attached to it. I mean, they keep churning these games out, almost 2000s level, except the internet is here and is forever. So I don't know why they think they're gonna get away with this. Game Mill is the new THQ, and I hate it here. Game Mill is responsible for the trash that is Skull Island, King Kong, Nightmare, terribleness. They gave the indie game studio that they hired to get this game done 1 year to build a game from scratch on this King Kong IP. 1 year to develop story, get all their assets, program code, everything. Nah. It's so bad. So bad. The devil works hard, but Game Mill works harder to bring bad licensed IP games back from the dead. We don't need them. Please stop. I guess they're working hard to live up to their name of Game Mill, and it's working, and I hate it. You would have thought that Gollum then would be set up for more success simply because I outlined before that if you have a game outside of the main story narrative or that's telling a different story than the movie, odds are it might be a little more successful. But don't worry, the studio that worked on this game found a way to mess it up. To be fair, they picked the weakest little hobbit to tell a story about. Don't know who made that decision. I think a Schmeagol game, Schmeagol could have been more successful, potentially, something in his past of how he came to get the ring. Maybe he could fight then, who knows? But Gollum? The dude that jumps into a volcano at the end of the series? I don't know why you thought this was the protagonist of your next video game and why you thought this would succeed. I mean, I want to congratulate them on trying to make a game different from just rehashing the Lord of the Rings movies in video game format, but also maybe you shouldn't have. I'm gonna stick to playing Lego Lord of the Rings. Thanks. You failed. Please stop. These companies really are out here trying to win the award for the worst game of the year, and I can't. It's fun to watch people play these games and get a good laugh out of them, but I just think of all of the talented devs who are working on these games. They want to make something original and creative, but they can't because all their studio is getting hired for are these crappy IP licensed titles. So they make those games to make the money, and then that's what's in their backlog of experience, so they can keep getting hired to make these games. And I need it to just stop. Can we not just invest money into unique and interesting stories? This isn't me calling for the end of all IP games. I do not think that that is the answer. It's fun to explore worlds that you engage with in movies and books and TV series, to now have them in video game format in a way that's unique and different, because video games are more interactive. They require player input. That's why these games can be great, but they are making them into just cash cows and greedy, quick bucks, and it's terrible. They're not putting in time or effort or care into these games. They just want to shovel something out that they think will sell purely based off of the name and hope that they sell enough copies before people realize that the game is total shit. The answer is for these game studios that have the rights to make these licensed video games to stop being so greedy and just focus on making quality gaming experiences. But I don't see that changing anytime soon, unfortunately. We're gonna hope that one of these days there comes a video game based off of a licensed franchise that is amazing and wonderful and maybe sets a new standards or shows studios that yes, there is money to be had in making these games, but you actually have to give a damn. What terrible licensed video game games have you played and suffered through? Do you have any favorite licensed video games? Ham Heartbreakers, like I said, one of mine. So there are some good ones out there, but like, what's the worst one you've played? Do tell me in the comments. Now excuse me while I go find the back door to Game Mill so I can sneak in and shut them down because they need to be stopped. Okay, thanks, bye.